This is the last piece for the heads area, where this bulkhead will come down, and then it's actually going to step out and come in line with the edge of this hull floor here. This is the last of the 17mm marine ply stock that I've got. This is the last piece for the heads area. It's just a small strip with a curved section, and it will have a strip on the bottom as well, which will form the doorway to go in and out of the heads. So I'm just contemplating what I'm going to do with this door head. I do want to have some sort of curve. I was wondering whether to have it symmetrical or whether to have it as I've done with the V-berth doorway and slope it down. I don't want to do that. The reason I did that is because that doorway is on one side of the arc of the main beam going across that section. So I thought that this might look nicer symmetrical. What I've done is I've just secured a bit of plywood here. I've measured the same distance out to the center line of this doorway, and there's a line there where I can shift a nail in order to put a bit of non-stretch line, and off of that center line just do shapes playing with the curve. Of course, the closer I get to the door head, the tighter that radius. The further away, the broader and the more gentle that radius. So that's what I'm up to. I've got a shape there which is looking close. I'm not 100% decided on it, but that'll come shortly. What I've done is cut a bevel on this edge here. That's going to allow it to kiss and come up nice and neat with the other bulkhead. And then the next thing happening is I'm just cutting this bottom. There's going to be a footer to prevent water splashing back through into the main saloon galley area. And as you can see, I've cut a nice curve there, as you saw me do. Now what I'm going to do is just get a straight edge, mark this out already, and put the straight edge along the length of this, and then I'm going to drop the circular saw on top of the jigsaw cut so that I have a nice straight edge with the circular saw. That's come up as a nice straight cut. I anticipate there'll be some people who will be wanting to suggest, you know, why don't I get a track saw, a plunge track saw? And, you know, it'd be great to have a tool for every single job, but I guess there's a couple of things there. Number one, I do have the tools to do the job. Number two, all these extra tools, especially in a country like Australia, cost quite a lot. Number three, I don't have a lot of work for specialty tools, so to outlay the money to buy a tool that I'm not going to get a lot of use out of, for me doesn't really make a lot of sense. I'm doing this once and then I'll be off sailing. So I don't really want to invest in a tool for every single job. My trusty circular saw is doing the job, and that is a nice straight cut, as you can probably see there. So I'm happy enough with that. I'll just finish it off with the jigsaw now, do this radius cut and the back where I drop the saw down to get that all clean. Another satisfying moment, another bulkhead in. That door bulkhead that I was working on just before, and that really has come up nice. So as mentioned, the bottom there is going to have a bottom piece there just to stop moisture coming from the inside of the heads to the outside. Fairly obvious reasons really. And the head piece there, I left that deliberately long, as you will see, and the reason is I wanted to make sure I get that exactly right, fitted exactly right. So it's sitting on the outside of this bulkhead here at the moment, and it will actually be sitting on the inside up to that line. So what I'm going to do is just use the bevel. I've got another bit of scrap timber ply, the same thickness, so that I can play with the angle and get that right before I actually cut that one. But otherwise, that really has come up a treat. What I've done, just to mention also, with this joint here, I've left it about 2 mil space. It's not as tight up as it can be, but at the moment there it's about 3 mil. But I'm going to actually fill that with epoxy glue, and that way I'll be able to sand that to a rounded edge rather than have a sharp corner there. What I've done is I've used a bit of scrap, as mentioned. I've just laid this top out of this bulkhead so that I can slide that through there, as I think you can see. Then brought that through to the outside of that bulkhead also, right on the edge. Holding that there, that represents exactly where this bulkhead will sit. Then with the bevel, just taken off that angle. So I have that angle so that I know what angle to cut this end at. And in order to do that, I'm just going to use a protractor, superimpose the bevel onto the protractor when I can find 0. And that angle looks to be 116. So that angle is 116 degrees. Now I have that angle is 116 degrees. I can cut that end once I get the actual proper length, cut it, and then that's done. It's enjoyable doing these bulkheads, getting them in. It's work that you can visibly see is going on. Here I am with the plumb bob again, just securing it to the end of this beam right on the corner. I just need that point there vertically down onto that hull floor so that I can work out where this bulkhead will come down, and then it's actually going to step out and come in line with the edge of this hull floor here. As explained in previous videos, it's just a matter of suspending the plumb bob on a point that you want to transfer vertically below. This is sitting nice and still over here, and I've just made a mark right where that point is. I'll zoom in so you can have a look at that. Well, another significant moment for me. This is the last of the 17mm marine ply stock that I've got. One more sheet, and I'm actually surprised that it has worked out exactly as I nested years ago when I was basically designing the interior fit out with which to order all of this ply. I've got one more full stock sheet of the 17mm, and I only have two more small bulkheads that I always planned to be having with the 17mm. Up in the rafters here, there's one 2400 by 370mm strip, which was a cut off from prior bulkheads, and that is going to work out perfectly for the last bit that I need to put in across the transom area, which will separate the second and third cabins to the lazarette. It's worked out perfectly. I'm very, very pleased yet again. So here we go, the last bit of 17mm stock up on the frame. I'll put that template on, and that should leave enough room for the final small bulkhead. That should leave plenty of room here for that other small one. Follow along next week, everybody, where I get all the main bulkheads completed and start the lengthy process of epoxy painting everything. See you then.